Kara Barnes has been instrumental in elevating many thought leaders beyond $1 million in revenue by systematizing day-to-day operations and by serving as a trusted second in command. As the founder of Backstage Ops, a fractional COO agency, Kara and her brilliant team of Ops managers partner with visionaries to align their strategy, systems, software, and staff. Whether completing strategic planning or finding a perfect fit business manager placement, this work has allowed countless professional speakers to escape administrative minutiae and focus on developing their thought leadership, achieving focused goals with ease.
Hi all, I'm here to share a little bit about speaker business operations. If going into your CRM or ClickUp makes you want to crawl into a hole, just know that as an ops person who's normally behind the scenes, I am very rarely on a stage like this. So if I can do this terrifying stage part of it, then you all can go in and clean up your ops, and we'll be in it together. Well, I'm not a speaker myself, typically. I do spend a lot of time around speakers. And I remember one scenario in particular. I remember looking around and thinking, oh, all the other conference goers went to bed. It was 11 p.m. on the last night of a speaker conference, and I was sitting across from a very tired woman. She had been telling me about her consulting business, and her frustrations were really coming to a head. She said, I'm constantly putting out fires. My online course has been ready for months, but still is not launched. And I have expenses through the roof. My software, support staff, but I don't feel supported. She looked up at me and said, I just don't even know. What do I need? And then she put her head down on the table, defeated. I paused, and then I offered a diagnosis. I think you need a hug. I didn't know her very well, so I wasn't sure how she was going to react. But when she grinned up at me, I walked around the table to offer a hug, and I thought to myself, man, I have been there. If you think most speakers and entrepreneurs have been there too, you're going to say, oh yeah, on 3. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah. Yeah, because the to-do list is overwhelming, and it's never ending. I've noticed for my clients, that overwhelm often sets in after a mastermind or a conference or a webinar where they've taken in a stream of insights about what speakers should and should not be doing. As we debrief the event, those insights range from valuable and energizing to an absolute spiral of self-doubt. Here are a few recent examples of contradicting messages that have caused my clients stress. The first message is to keep it simple, to stay focused and focus on just one thing at a time. But also, you really need to continually innovate. Stay on the cutting edge if you want to stay relevant. How about this one? Your customer experience should be warm and human-centric, very personal. But also, you really ought to utilize automation, and you should be using AI every step of the way. Recognize it? What about this? Maybe you've heard that great entrepreneurs are gritty, they're scrappy, and they work until the job is done. But also, you really ought to delegate as soon as possible so you can stay in your zone of genius. And then you'll have time for self-care. Now, there's truth in each of those philosophies. But business owners who try to align their business with all of them might find that they take 3 steps in this direction and 3 steps in that direction and don't actually move anywhere. Meaningful progress forward requires that you clarify your own vision for success and then stay focused and build the systems that will bring it to life. And systems are where I come in. And I know what you might be thinking, because when people hear that I work in systems, I often get a reaction of, ooh, my business really needs better systems, but it's just not a priority yet. And I get that, because so many things are fighting for your attention on your priority list. So wherever operations and systems lands on your priority list today, be listening for some tools that may support you as priorities shift. For now, I'll ask if you agree with 2 statements that are going to ground our conversation for today. The first statement is that thought leaders with a well-organized business are more strategic, efficient, and growth-ready. If you agree, you're going to give me a yep on 3. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Yep is my favorite call and response. The second statement hones in on that word, strategic. The second statement is that being strategic isn't about getting more done. It's about getting the right things done. Yeah? I see some nodding heads. So to provide a little bit more context from my perspective, I've been working on the back end of speaking-based businesses for over 10 years, and I now run a staffing agency called Backstage Ops. We work with thought leaders who have momentum in their business, but need to build systems to get themselves out of the weeds. We do strategic planning and often pair them with a part-time business manager so that we can smooth out their operations. Because systems are powerful. They will move a speaker from that frustrated place of overwhelm and ready to fire their whole team, their whole staff, to generating predictable, reliable revenue and doing a lot more of the fun, creative parts, like the speaking and the writing. I'm going to walk you through some of the tools that we use with our clients to help with their operations and growth that hopefully you can take and implement immediately, regardless of your business size or your long-term goals. And when I say operations, I'm talking about aligning your systems, your software, and your staff to keep the business on track. Because if any one of those 3 is out of whack, everything will come to a screeching halt. Before we dive into systems, I've got one more contradiction that I talk about a lot with my clients. It has to do with long-term goals. I hear clients say that they want to have a major impact, a booming sales pipeline, a best-selling book, and a robust suite of products and services that support their speaking. But also, they want to keep it simple. Keep expenses down, work 25 hours a week or so. I want to stay home with my family as much as I can. And I'd like to pay myself $200,000 or so a year. Now, it's not impossible. But it's really hard to know how to bring it all to fruition with 24 hours in a day. I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel the tension of their big ideas and creativity and their passion, and the part of them that has to log into QuickBooks and post on social media and clear the emails. I want to help speakers reconcile those 2 parts and hopefully be more effective in their business, so they have more capacity to work on their business. If you want that for yourself, go ahead and say, yes, please. Yes, please. I know I do. I want more of that all the time. The first step is defining that realistic timeline and trajectory. This visual framework is something that I designed based on the clients that we've worked with and their growth. These clients range from keynoting businesses, like primary keynoting, to emceeing and entertaining, to consulting firms, coaching agencies, and training companies. I'm going to touch on each of these three categories, and then with the rest of our time together, we'll go a little bit deeper into each one, talk about some of their pain points and what you can do to be ready. So first, we'll look at the first-gear solopreneurs. These are folks who are still largely wearing all the hats in their business. They might have a virtual assistant or two, but really the work still falls on them. Their systems are designed to support them, real personal and kind of scrappy, just what they need for themselves to keep things together. Their focus really is on getting the next gig and next money in the door. They're flexible. They can kind of offer whatever they want, from consulting, training, whatever comes up. They're able to say yes and follow the flow. The middle tier is our second-gear business owners. So these are folks who are shifting into having a small team. They're starting to go through that growth phase of delegation, figure that out. They are starting to really hone in the products and services that make the most sense, the things they enjoy doing most, kind of getting into a groove with that, more consistency. And their systems need to support more collaboration and accountability than before. Business owners in second gear are starting to shift from we need money in the door to I need more time and energy out of my business. I need to free myself up. In third gear, we've got our third gear visionaries. So these are folks who are established in their business. They typically have team members who've been around for a while. There's great consistency in the things that they're offering. They've really honed in products and services. Their system work is about optimizing, continually making the business better, preparing for growth, thinking ahead. And the business owner is ideally not just out of the weeds, but really pursuing a lot of thought leadership, able to do a lot more speaking and have a lot more growth in the thought leadership space, more focused on the market needs, the industry, and thinking higher level about their legacy in the business. So take a moment to think about where you and your business are in this model today. And consider where you would like to be in the future. I think it's important to note that this visual does not intend to imply that bigger is better. I walked out today to Notorious B.I.G.'s song, Mo Money, Mo Problems, so you might know where I'm going with this. I know some first-gear solopreneurs who are thriving. They have little to no expense, no team members to manage. They just get to speak, and they love what they do. I also know some third-gear visionaries who have worked their tail off in their business to get to a point where they've got a really established business, and they crave the simplicity of a smaller operation in the early days. So it's not really important that you scale. What's important is that you're making strategic decisions today that are in alignment with what you want from your business in the long term. I'm going to move a little quickly as we go because we're going to dig into all three of these. You're kind of getting 3 speeches for the price of 1 today. So make sure you've got something to write on or a note in your phone or something. We'll do an exercise towards the end that's going to help you try on some of the ideas that we talk about. We're going to start with our first-gear solopreneurs. I recently met a speaker, and I remember it so clearly because her first words to me were, "Hi, thanks for hopping on a call. My name is Nina. I am a hot mess express." She went on to share that she's been working so hard in her business, but isn't seeing the results. She said she sits down at her computer and really doesn't know where to start. She laughs and says, "I am your typical ADHD creative, and I am working on a dozen projects. I get them all to about 80%, and then I get stuck." Her roadblocks include technology, like trying to get this to zap over to that, or staying organized, like getting that meeting planner, the headshot that they asked for to do 2 weeks ago. Sometimes, she admits, she just loses steam. She says, "I probably should hire, but the virtual assistants that I worked with in the past didn't work out, and It's kind of a waste of time and money. I don't even know what I would have somebody else do. And then she said something that you'll probably recognize. It would take more time to delegate than to just do it myself. Is that a thought you've had before? I know I have. She's quick to say yes when the opportunities come in, wants to jump on the low-hanging fruit, and she's kind of learning what she likes still. But it makes for inconsistent fulfillment. She's often customizing for every client, kind of wearing herself down, and reinventing the wheel a lot. When I ask about revenue, she says, yeah, finances are a little depressing. I'd like to invest more in my business, but the money is not there. If Nina doesn't improve some of these struggles, I think she's likely to burn out. Or, worst case scenario, she might end up in some significant debt, investing in a business that she's not enjoying. This can be a very lonely place to be as a business owner. And when I hear that speakers are struggling with these kinds of issues, my encouragement often sounds something to the effect of this. Even when you're solo, you've got to adopt a leadership team mentality. And I like this idea for a few reasons. First, leadership teams take a balanced approach. From CTO to COO, CEO, they all bring a different lens because they're all taking care of different parts of the business. When you're the one wearing all the hats, just thinking in terms of what hat am I putting on right now is going to allow you to work in your day-to-day with more focus and more flow, more intention. It will probably also help you stay more organized. It may also help you think ahead to team growth and what aspects of the business are ready for delegation. Next, leadership teams spend their resources strategically. I know this isn't profound, but it's critical, right? Just like you'd meet with a CFO on your leadership team, set aside time to look at your money, get familiar with how money is coming in and going out. The real numbers, not just checking the bank account. If you struggle to get your finances organized, I would encourage you to read the book Profit First. This is especially great at getting business owners out of a feast and famine mentality, which is super common in the speaking industry, right? Big money coming in from a gig, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And last, leadership teams think long-term. And this can be with little things like as small as how you name your files and your folders. Here's an example, so that you and team members over time can find what you need in the system. It's a small thing, goes a long way. Or it can be big long-term thinking, like quarterly goal setting, which is exactly what we did with Nina. There's lots of great goal-setting practices out there. My approach is simple and to the point. Since we've got limited time, I'm going to invite you to just sit back and listen to how we helped Nina establish her 90-day plan. And then at the end of today, I'm going to give you an exercise in a PDF format that will allow you to go through this on your own, and it's set up to be ready for you every 90 days to sit down and look ahead to the coming quarter. Quarterly goal setting works for solopreneurs and big organizations alike because what's written down gets measured, and what's measured gets done. We're going to say it together like we're in church. Are you ready? What's written down gets measured, and what's measured gets done. My dad's a pastor. He'd be so proud. As we asked Nina to look ahead to the coming 90 days, her job is to identify 3 to 5 goals that must be completed. Here are some considerations that I offered Nina as she worked through this exercise. The first thing is that we need goals to be consistently sized. Not too big, not so far we're not going to finish them this quarter, and not too small that they're going to get just checked off a list quickly. We want them to be right in the middle, like Goldilocks. Just right. Next, we need them to be crystal clear. And this is often in the naming of the goal. It's a small thing, but it's actually very hard to do. I encourage people to start their goals with an action word simple, like determine, design, create, launch. That's going to help you make sure that at the end of the quarter, when you look back at your goals, you can answer with black and white clarity. Did we achieve this, yes or no? And I'll give you an example. I had a client recently who wanted their quarterly goal to be optimize Slack, which sounds good, right? Started with an action word, onto a good start there. But I said, optimize is a little nebulous. What does that really mean? And also, if you're using Slack, won't you be doing that in your business, optimizing it forevermore? So we thought about it a bit and came up with the new goal to define Slack protocols and share with team. That's much more clear, and at the end of the quarter, we have full confidence that we can check that off our list. Brené Brown talks about defining done with your team before you send someone off to go complete a project, and that's what we're getting at here. Simple things that will help you really leverage your support staff more effectively and even just show up more effectively for yourself in your goal setting. Last, consider your capacity, the specific window of time you have to work with. If you're looking at goals for Q3, that's going to be July, August, and September, right? So thinking about what else you have going on in that window of time. For many, kids will be home or getting ready to go back to school. You gotta realize that any travel you have coming up, both work or personal, is gonna take you away from your ability to focus on these goals. So being very honest with yourself about the capacity you have to get focused on the goals. I'd encourage you to think about industry trends, like what's happening this time of year for the people I'm working with, or big events that you need to keep in mind. Next, I'd invite you to think through each division of your business. So I put up here marketing, sales, finance, fulfillment, admin, operations. These are some of the different divisions of business the labels that we'll use to organize folks we work with. And think about the capacity in your business to move the needle in some of these areas. In the next 90 days, what has to happen with marketing? What has to happen in finance for us to be in a good, healthy position? Taking time to think through each of those categories is useful to get your brain going with goal setting. Nina's 90-day goals looked something like this. Her financial goal is to get transactions reconciled. We're about halfway through the year. She's got to get herself caught up. Her marketing goal is to launch a welcome series, something that's going to be evergreen for her marketing that she can set and forget, right? Her sales goal will be to redesign proposal templates. I'd encourage you to set goals that are realistic, that you can knock out of the park, rather than to always be stretching and falling short at the end of the quarter, especially if you've got a team. It's hard to stay motivated if you're never hitting your goals at the end of the quarter. Much better to put yourself in a headspace of, we crushed it, we're ahead of schedule, let's work ahead, than, man, I'm always behind. I can never really catch up, right? So what's hard about being in first gear? Ultimately, it's all you, right? That's the tough part. But if you think about the best part of being a solopreneur, ultimately, it's all you. You don't have to get the buy-in of a team member to implement software or make a big decision, big pivot. The simplicity is your advantage. If you crush execution and are good at getting things past that 80% mark and over the finish line, then this solopreneur model might be a really good fit for you long term. If you're hearing my story about Nina and going, oh boy, that's me, then I would encourage you to think about building out your support system, right? It doesn't have to be complex, doesn't mean you have to build a team necessarily. It might just mean getting a business coach or a mid-tier virtual assistant who can help keep you accountable to your goals moving forward, right? If bringing on a support system and building out a team is exciting for you, then you'll enjoy our next phase here where we talk about our second gear. Do you remember the woman who needed a hug at the beginning? She mentioned that she was paying for a lot of support staff, but not feeling very supported. We ended up working together, and I learned that she's working with 3 part-time subcontractors, so 1099s. In confidence, she shared, I don't know if I've got the right people in the right seats. And I don't know if I trust them to follow through on the things they say they're going to do. I struggle to hold them accountable because I'm disorganized and I don't know what I've shared with them or if they were set up for success. I'm the bottleneck all the time. These kinds of statements are classic second gear. Because as the business is growing, the number one priority quickly becomes having a reliable team. People who are trustworthy, autonomous, and affordable. That's often the kicker. Which brings us to sort of a chicken-egg conundrum, which is, I really need more hands to help me with the follow-ups, help me make sure that I'm on top of leads, and keep money coming into the business. But I really need more revenue before I can afford to hire help. This is where a lot of my clients are. This tough timing of building a team, and when do we bring people on, and are we ready? So we designed this framework. This is from Natalie Gingrich with the Ops Authority. She's brilliant. And these are some of the levels of work that are happening in a small business. So I'll talk through this quickly. At the top, we've got visionary level work, which is typically the CEO, right? Monitoring the market, casting the vision for the organization, leading. In the pink here, we've got strategy. So turning and making decisions about the strategic components that need to marry together in order for that vision to come to life. We've got the blue management level, which is folks who are handling the software, the infrastructure to create the projects and keep things going. And then last but certainly not least, we've got our foundation here in yellow in execution, the hands-on doing of the work, the details, right? So when people first get into second gear, one of the things that I'm hearing is that they're looking for a generalist. They really just need somebody to come in and be able to say yes to whatever gets passed off onto their plate, right? In theory, they're kind of looking for someone who's okay playing in a lot of these levels. We jokingly call these generalists unicorns, but they do exist. There's just pros and cons. So some of the considerations about working with a generalist. At first, there's usually huge relief for the business owner, right? Thank goodness I'm not alone in this work anymore. But then as you get into the day-to-day groove of things, often you'll find that generalists are just so-so at doing lots of different things. Some of the other considerations, it's really good practice of delegation. If you're a business owner who hasn't had to do much of that yet, or you're not used to managing people, you can start to build those muscles. It's great for short-term wins, just getting that launch done, getting some things out the door. But burnout is really common with generalists. And I don't see these relationships last more than a couple of years a lot of times, and a lot of times people go out with a bang because they're just burned out and exhausted from working in all of these levels. For example, I've got somebody in my life right now who's working in each level. She's posting on social media in execution. She's responsible for client deliverables in that strategy and management component. And she will, just the other day, she was telling me she hopped on a call after a conference, and she and the business owner were ideating about the next chapter of the business. It's really high level. And in the same conversation, she's telling me, I can't do this anymore. I'm so tired. So if you've got someone on your team supporting you and functioning at a few different levels, you just need to be mindful of the potential for burnout there. Eventually, business owners start thinking, I don't just need it done. I need it done correctly the first time and without my involvement. And this is often where we start to shift from working with generalists to specialists. So for example, a copywriter, a financial advisor, or a true executive assistant. Yes, it's going to be pricier, but they take ownership, they're going to guide you through the work, they're in their zone of genius, so the results are typically much better. It's often at this point that people stop working with their cousin who's been managing social media for years. They make a lot of mistakes, they are flaky, but they don't charge much, and they're around. If you want to level up, you're going to need specialists who are really, really good at what they do. And that's going to help you get to that point where you do feel ready to charge more for your keynotes. You're catching the eye of bureaus because you've got really great people executing on your behalf. One more consideration, as you bring in more specialists to support you, you're going to quickly realize you have more cooks in the kitchen, which is when the need for infrastructure and systems becomes very obvious. So remember, as you grow, your operations need to grow with you. You're going to have to continue to realign your systems, your software, and your staff in order to keep the business on track. I come back to this often because visionaries are often excellent leaders, inspiring, but they're often not great managers. And tightening up your operations often takes a back seat to sales and fulfillment and marketing. But the irony is that systems and operations will often make all of those other projects easier in the long term. And I would argue that in the speaking businesses that I've worked with, I think the difference between the speakers that are making $150,000 in their business a year and $500,000 a year is their willingness to really get into the design of their systems. I think to maintain a second gear business or bump up into third gear, that mindset of, it's just faster to do it myself, has got to go. Dan Sullivan's book, Who Not How, talks about how the right who's are going to bring their own time, energy, skills, connections to the table. And it's going to grow your resources exponentially to be working alongside them. So the learning curve of delegation is worthwhile, but it takes a lot of time and patience and investment. At the end, I'm going to share an auditing tool for your team design. It's going to invite you to consider the roles of each of the people on your support staff, from the person you talk to every single day, or maybe a spouse who's invested in the business, to your CPA you talk to once or twice a year. It's going to help you make sure that you're being thoughtful about how you're leveraging them in the business, and make sure that you're hiring in alignment with your long-term business needs. It's worth noting again that if you've got somebody on your team already functioning in 3 or more of those levels, it's really important that you're communicating well and often about their scope. Because we don't want them to burn out for their sake, but we also want them to stick around and love working in your business, right? We want you to retain your talent and the people who want to work for you. If managing and growing the team thoughtfully is a priority for you, I would also encourage you to set up quarterly check-ins, just 15-minute meetings, where you commit to not talking about any of the day-to-day business. We're just going to talk about their scope, if they're enjoying the work that they're doing, what are they learning about themselves as a professional, and encourage them to talk with you about how's their capacity, how are they doing. Because what I'm sharing with you about burnout is especially true if you've got somebody on your team who's a perfectionist or if they struggle to set boundaries. So in order for you to support that person and keep them around on your side long term, you might need to help them with some of that. If scheduling all of those calls with all those people who support you feels unrealistic, then you might be ready to explore bringing on a part-time business manager. And that's where I come in, so chat with me. I'd love to talk about that piece of the puzzle. So in second gear, what's hard? Developing the team and the people, your who's who are going to help you succeed, and developing the infrastructure. So setting up the systems and the software that are really going to help the team collaborate, set them up for success, and hold them accountable. Hopefully the best part of Gear 2 is very obvious. You're not doing the work yourself anymore. Hallelujah, it's great. It just takes a while to get there. And that brings us on to third gear. One of my clients is in third gear and owns a healthcare training company. He's got great revenue, a long-standing team, and really solid systems. We came in at the start of the year and optimized their tech stack, shifted their day-to-day management over to a part-time business manager, which were major wins for him. He's really freed up. It's allowed him a lot more time to focus on keynotes and writing. He's finishing a book. He's really doing projects that only he can do. The problem is that he just spent 10 years learning how to be a really hands-on first, second gear business owner. So those are the habits that he's falling into. For example, he's taking on projects that his full-time staff could handle, and it's causing a little tension. He's also communicating directly to team members and causing confusion because that contradicts what another member of leadership shared about this project, right? He just recently went on vacation, and on vacation, he was doing projects that are not urgent at all. People thought, where did he even find that project? What is he working on? And it was out of a need to stay productive, right? So when he came back from vacation, we had a conversation about it. And he said he never wants the team to think that he's not working just as hard as they are. And he's not sure what value he brings now that he's out of the weeds. No surprise, maybe, that he is also burning out badly. So, what's hard about gear 3? Learning to stay out of the weeds, delegating well, embracing your role as a visionary, figuring out what's next for you. What's great about gear 3, hopefully, is obvious too. The business runs really well. Revenue stable, a team has your back, you can finally breathe. In theory, these are the Mai Tais on the beach entrepreneurs, the ones who make money in their sleep. But that freedom and that discretion of time really only comes once you've got really strong systems and a great team that you trust. So whether you're in first, second, or third gear, I'll invite you to think about, when you have more time and cash, what do you want to be doing with it? If the answer is that you want to spend more time with your kids, then your vision can't also be flying out to 80 speaking gigs a year. You got to choose. You got to be thoughtful. If you do want to be home more with your kids and family, then maybe a stay-at-home revenue model that focuses on thought leadership is a better fit. Let's launch a podcast, right? Other options. If you're not a sit on the couch and relax kind of person, then what are the other things you're going to take on? Other fitness goals, getting involved in your community, spending more time with friends, other ways you can fill yourself up that you don't have time for right now. Or, in the case of one client, made life interesting, he got a chameleon. Go crazy. The business needs a whole, healthy human to lead. And the business will be better if you unplug. Focus on yourself, focus on your thought leadership, and ultimately think about your legacy. We're not just talking about self-care here, and if it seems silly to present this as a major problem, I get that. But I talked to so many burned out visionaries who were struggling to find much meaning in their work. They never really thought about what it would look like once they didn't have to do all the nitty-gritty anymore. And they're also struggling to find meaning in their personal life. So they're turning to their work. It's not a great cycle. I suspect that a thoughtful evolution into the visionary role is really key for a lot of these folks. So before we wrap up, I'd love for you to join me in a quick exercise. For those of you who loved the new Mission Impossible, I want to know, what exactly is your plan? So take out a pen and paper or write on a note on your phone, and I want you to answer this question. What action will you take immediately to embody your role as a visionary and get your business into the right gear? If you're still brainstorming what I mean about that role as a visionary, I'll offer some more ideas. For some, it could look more creative, like writing more often, either free flow or creating more content. It might look like scheduling more clarity breaks, allowing yourself to step away from the business more often to fully unplug, including email. It might look like pursuing higher level podcast or media opportunities. Go after what intimidates you. It might be finally saying no to unpaid gigs or work that doesn't really align with you. Go ahead and write down right now what step you need to take to better embody yourself as a visionary, the future of your business. And as you do that, think about how you might design accountability. Is there a speaker friend that you could be in this with? Encourage them to text you and check in. How are you doing on that goal that you wrote down? It's so easy to get sucked back into the day-to-day. So stay at this higher level, your future self. If first and second gear are about building up the infrastructure for your business, then third gear is about creating a better infrastructure for yourself. strong supports in your life and your business that are going to keep you focused, but keep the work fun and motivating so that you and your business continue to thrive. My time is almost up, but I put together a package of resources for you because I know operations and everything I talked about today is a lot for a 45-minute session. If you want access to the package, scan this code here and we'll send it out to you. Included are templates and visuals and things that are going to be easy to download and save for reference. When you scan this code, it'll take you to a page with your name, your email. You're going to get a confirmation in your inbox, and you'll hit confirm, and then we'll send you the gifts. So go ahead and work through those steps right now while it's up. And while you do, I'm going to hit the highlights of what I shared today. First, we talked about the growth phase framework and having great awareness of where your business is at today and where you want to be. Next, we talked about functioning like a leadership team, even when you're solo, and setting thoughtful quarterly goals to create that 90-day cadence and pacing in your business. We went on to second gear and talked a little bit about designing your team with intention. Really being thoughtful about the scope of the folks that you work with, thinking in terms of generalists and specialists, the level of work that you're assigning, so you can be thoughtful about keeping those folks around for a long time, and maybe eventually getting your generalists into their zone of genius more and more. We also talked about how working with specialists requires you to have more infrastructure. Your systems and your software will become even more important when you've got people functioning in those systems. In third gear, we talked about visionaries and stepping more fully into your role as a visionary, as well as building some accountability and infrastructure to hold yourself accountable to that ongoing personal and professional growth. I know we went through a lot today, so focus in on just the one or two things that you wrote down and commit to taking action, keeping those things top of mind. This is your last chance to grab the code here. These materials, I hope, are going to make you much more likely to follow through on some of the things that we talked about today. Things like sitting down again with that 90-day exercise every 90 days, putting it on the calendar, just have it set up. Things like meeting with your team and having a thoughtful conversation about their scope. Some great resources in there for recruitment when you're looking for the next new team member. I am around all weekend. Pull me aside, say hello. I would love to hear what landed with you and what y'all are working on in your business. I've got this little table over here by SpeakerFlow guys with these disco ball keychains. Please go over and grab one. And I also have a sign-up sheet there if you want to win a quarterly planning session with me. That'd be fun. Go put your name down. Love to see you. Thank you very much for being part of this conversation, giving me the chance to speak to y'all today. Whether you would like to talk operations or if you just need a hug, I'm here for it. Thank you.